Welcome, everybody, to Mud Flood Was Armageddon, formerly Flat Earth Nation Golden Age past because it is a Flat Earth Nation. The Golden Age, the millennium, is past, and Mud Flood was definitely Armageddon. Don't let them tell you anything else unless they're willing to debate you in a fair and honest way. On this day that we celebrate Good Friday, uh, I'm going to be doing a couple of shows. This is a preview of, Lord willing, what I'll be doing tonight. I've been trying so hard to, glean more and more information from the book of Galatians. I have some things on the Fox Indians from the Wisconsin, Minnesota area, but we're going to be talking about fake space and the real deception, something that the Lord just dropped a ton of information on me this morning about how it obviously is the setup. And I think you'll agree after we go over these 10 or 12 tabs that I pulled up and how much money, time, and effort they've put into the colonies in space. We're going to be looking at, their version of Noah's Ark and how, we've got to save humanity. And since I don't have any notes, we'll just have to jump right in and count on the Lord's Spirit to carry us through. I wonder if I have any pictures. Let's just see here. I got to share the screen. I'll see if I saved any new pictures from last night. Oh, there's the thumbnail. So doesn't it look like Star Wars? I mean, it's the Star Lost, the Star Wars. This is, something that was set in the future, but it might as well have been the past. Look at that long hair back from in the 70s. This was made as a small, underfunded TV show from Canada. And it doesn't it look like the Star Wars of how they use that crawl to go away from it? A planned utopia in space to save humanity. The Star Last. We'll be looking at that. Uh, Brian Forster, I saw a video he put out of place artifacts, different materials, drill bits or body parts, in the museum in Egypt. Not sure how I'm going to plan it on using that. This looks like that Scheitz disc. I've done shows on that. I do also believe that this is a body part of a Titan, something that they want to say was an impeller or a propeller. Was going over, refreshing my mind on quantum physics and the double slit experiment. And wouldn't you know that they call the northern, polarity of a proton Alex and the southern polarity of a proton Bob? Well, we've all heard a lot about Bob and things like that. Welcome, Darren Huckabee, the first person to sign in and enter the chat room, and he's has his mind right on Good Friday. Looking forward to, Lord willing, the plan is to have everyone join Randy and I on what they call Easter morning, but we'll be really getting into the scripture on the resurrection, our hope. We're kind of a duality too, like a proton that can be you know, be observed and, have a flesh and a spirit. So who knows what that is? Studying PCBs at Fort Bragg, the dioxins, midnight dumpings over 2 weeks. They're going to have to add this, you know, Craziness. Did I show this one? That this Antikythera mechanism was a flat Earth model and gleaned this off. Somebody had mirrored a flat Earth banjo video. I think that's Japan and Brazil. Fascinating, fascinating. Loved it. Did the Greeks really believe that, that the Earth was a globe? Huh? Clipped that as a reminder. I've shown this map many times. Love it. Here's the latitudes and longitudes displayed on that from way back in the when. So I don't have anything planned on that. Let's let it, there's 8 people here now, and we're going to get going on space. Here's a quote from that video, George Orwell's book, 1984. I think that most people here would agree that every record has been destroyed or falsified, every book rewritten, every picture has been repainted, every statue and street building has been renamed, every date has been altered. And the process is continuing day to day and minute by minute. History has stopped. Well, the Bible hasn't stopped. The Bible didn't stop. So that's where we did my last video on that. So let's just watched a video about the Wagner stormtroopers going on a war. And after, the videos end, they suggest videos. Well, here's one, the arrival, probably of aliens, World War II, Battle of the Bulge, Mafia in America, Hound of the Baskervilles from Sir Arthur Conan Doyle to get us there. One of the new people who are running with the Tartarian theme. Red Planet reminds me of that planet Mars. I'm sure that most people in America think they know how to survive on the planet Mars, when it has to get relocated. Another Sherlock Holmes one. Uh, Game of Shadows talks about how they were planning a world war to make money off the guns and the bandages. Another red line crossed in faux Israel, fake Israel, Dungeons and Dragons, chess, the legend of Tom Iris, probably some empowerment for women who actually led the war, and the island of Dr. Moreau, a person who did experiments, Crimea type experiments. Been famous for a long time. The movies have been remade many, many times. Let's jump in and see where we're at. We're sharing the screen. We're going to go, first we have to look at, just a little bit of history. A viaduct from 1863, Goneless. There's a Goneless Bridge in 1823, but this is also known as the Lands Viaduct. The Gonwoods, a railway viaduct that leads to no place that's inhabited today. Not a very big picture, but they'll have a few. So it's like they blew up the piers. You could tell though that they were brick, but then they decided, you know what? We don't. This place is so far out in the middle of nowhere that we can't blow it up anymore. Um, it was a part of the British Railway. Big money wasted on it. Nothing to explain is, built back in the 1800s, closed down in the 1950s because was there a population drop or something? So many mysteries. The breaching cuts is why they say they closed that Gauntless Aqueduct railroad line. The breaching axe is what it's also known as, was a plan to increase the efficiency in Great Britain of their railways, nationalized after World War II. Two great reports. Turns out it was a money making scheme, but I mean, they cut almost half. Did they lose half the population in World War II? If that was even, I mean, anything more than a cover up? 55% of the stations, 30% of the route miles, nearly 70,000 British rail positions in the early 1960s, right when they were switching over to the metric system. Here's some of the things that they've just had to leave, and now they're in the middle of nowhere getting overgrown. This is an overgrown viaduct near Lob Gill on the Skipton to Lickley line in Yorkshire. Closed in 1965, left to rot. The Battlefield Axe, the Breaching Axe, another railway just closed in 65. Once was used, now it's not. Big brick aqueduct. Did half the population go away? This was one of the stations closed. Now, there's something pulled up here that just says it was a money-making scheme. Hey, this was closed too. Tunnels to nowhere now. Tunnels left to be found by a future generation as they probably were found by a previous generation. Steampunk much? How about that? Privatization, nationalization, big dip. All these things were built when there was hardly anybody there, used up until World War II, and then said, we don't need them anymore. Cut them. Something weird going on. Something weird. An abandoned stone bridge. Something tells me if you cleaned it off, it would look very nice. Hello, Cam. Welcome to this spontaneous dream. We're just looking at this background here. Now, if I remember right, as they were reshaping England, there's a very interesting footnote down here that about this plan. There was named after somebody named Marples as the Minister of Transportation, some type of a scam where he owned 64,000 of the 80,000 shares, and they weren't sharing that. First, Maples decided to disappear the Stedford report. The findings of the Stedford Fort Committee remained such a well-kept secret that even Barbara Castle was unable to see them upon becoming Minister of Transportation in 1966. Why are we closing everything down? They asked. And nobody could give her a good answer. But they were closing it down, and I guess being the Minister of Transportation wasn't a high enough pay grade. But now we're going to get to the science of space and how are we going to do it? Look at this. The Star Lost. I couldn't use this picture because it's copyrighted and it's only a screenshot, screen capture of the television series. Hopefully you can tell, you can't really, but that they have different domed worlds attached to it. Reminded me of the Star Wars. Different domed worlds, something like 20. We'll be looking at these pictures here. They used Magicam back in the kind of a predecessor, I guess, to green screen of how they filmed things. And They're faking it. I'm going to show you how DARPA fakes it today and how many, whether it's in a pool or whether it's in the desert that replicates Mars. The Star Lost was a Canadian produced science fiction television series, 1973 on the Canadian television. The show's setting is a huge generational colony spacecraft called Earthship Ark. Very creative. But remember, Star Wars didn't even come out till 1977, and George Lucas had to have something to either copy or build upon because it was the plan. How many generational colony spacecraft TV shows, movies have you seen where we've got to save the world? Everything from Moonraker to that movie 2012 about oh no, the Mayan calendar is correct. We've got to do it. The series experienced a number of production difficulties, but they were pioneering that green screen. The premise, foreseeing the destruction of the earth, something that they've been calling about as overpopulation since the late 1700s, is earliest I knew. Humanity builds a multi-generational starship, Earthship Ark, 50 miles wide, 200 miles long, dozens of biospheres, each of them kilometers across, housing people of different cultures. Their goal is to seek and find and seed a new world of a distant star. Well, that doesn't seem that, we've heard it dozens of times. The year is 2385. After 100 years into the voyage, unexplained accident occurs and the ship goes into emergency mode, whereby each biosphere is sealed off from each other. So, enough to keep it going for 405 years. The Amish had their own committee, and somebody wanted to get married, true love. They wanted to get married, they couldn't do it. Local computer called the voice of the creator. Uh, Truman Show much? So they called it Cypress Corners. The three discovered oh no, after all those years, the Ark is on a collision course with a Class G star similar to the sun. And most people would just go like, well, there's tons of suns out there. With all the odds are there has to be planet exactly like Earth. And if we could just slingshot around enough planets, we could get there. So that basically is the deal on that. Not a lot of pictures on the Star Lost. So I'm going to copy that. I'll just paste it and search it and see if we, there's, you can watch episode 10. Not a lot of images, but here's a couple. Classical Star Trekian thing, Star Trek was out before this, but there's some of the Amish people here. I wonder how big that is. You can kind of see better picture of the star domes here. Well, they didn't even let it get big, and it says that it's a big picture. Earthship Ark. There's another one. The Star Lost. There's the biodomes, dozens of biodomes. Hey, doesn't that look like the Starship Enterprise? The same thing to get people waiting. Oh, it was Gene Roddenberry. How about that? Oh, Star Trek, based on Star Trek, the Star Lost in Canada. Well, how about that? More things change, the more they stay the same. Star Lost. Beam me up, Scotty. Let's see what else is. What is a generational ship? Where did they ever get that idea? I got disconnected there, I think, for just a second, but looks like I'm back, so I'm going to keep pressing on. We're on generation ship, and they're acting, like it could be real. They want to believe that it could be real. These interstellar arc starships, because Lord knows, I'll bet there's people out there right now thinking we need one. We need one. Hundreds of thousands of years, original occupants, grow old and die, new descendants, traveling ever onward as for some reason they're striving to save the human race, never wanting to admit that this earth is going to be replaced by God after another judgment. Hey, this Robert Goddard, American engineer and professor, credited with creating and building the world's first liquid fueled rocket. Wrong. They had them back in the 1600s. Uh, he's credited as being the first to write about long duration interstellar journeys in his book, The Ultimate Migration, 1918. While everyone else was fighting World War One, Bob Goddard was writing books about the ultimate migration. Were they legal or illegal immigrants or just refugees? He described the death of the sun and the necessity of an interstellar arc. His crew would travel for centuries in suspended animation. Process of fictional characters. Okay. To be awakened when they reached another star system. He proposed to use small moons or asteroids as ship and speculated that the crew would endure psychological and genetic changes over the generations. Anunnaki much? Who's this? Konstantin Solkovetsky. He looks very Russian. Soviet rocket scientist. Did he propose the same thing? The Future of Earth and Mankind, 1928, a space colony equipped with engines that travels thousands of years in a Noah's Ark. Kind of sounds like Moonraker and every other space generation movie. Another early description of a generation ship was a 1929 essay called The World, the Flesh, and the Devil. Well, at least they're admitting where they got their inspiration from. The definition, according to Hine and all the others, is a spacecraft on which a crew is living on board for at least several decades, such that it comprises multiple generation. Several subcategories of generation ships are distinguished. sprinter, slow boat, colony ship, world ship. Now, the enzyme, okay, it's categorized as a slow boat because of the astronomy magazine Slow Boat to Centauri in 1977, the same year that Star Wars came out. This, probably the penultimate, one of the penultimate, the baby boomer generation, get hooked on Star Wars, their children and grandchildren raised on it. People watch the same episodes of Star Trek over and over. They can't get enough of it. These definitions are essentially based on the velocity of the ship and population size. It's biospheres. You need biospheres. That's why the lost Star Wars ship had dozens of biospheres, ecosystems, small artificial enclosed ecosystems built to save humanity because it's what evolution does. They don't just sit there and take their judgment. They don't admit there's a God. Preserve genetic diversity, social control. You have to do it here. Some anthropologist John Moore has estimated that without genetic testing of people before boarding the ship, social control and or social engineering would be disastrous. Cryopreservation of sperm and embryos as done in sperm banks. A minimum of 160 people. It kind of sounds like an in space John Calhoun rat studies of how they planned the 15-minute cities. Just taking 1 second to read Darren's good job on blowing his mind, Darren. He deserves to have his mind blown if he's still hung up on pre-trib rapture. So they've got all of this planning out there. In 2013, anthropologist Cam Smith reviewed existing literature and created a new computer model to estimate a minimum reasonable population in the tens of thousands, assuming 150. And that's what PhDs are doing now today. They're taking that serious. How could we get to Proxima Centauri? It's a way of keeping the people on the wide road mind occupied. That's what we're going over with today because I had a couple of hours before I get into doing tonight's show, and Lord willing, you'll be with me. We'll be going over some Bible, some Native American things that are just so interesting. The pictographs. You know what people with their what's the expression? Their head screwed on right are thinking about God's judgment, how it happened before, and it's obviously happening again. But the people that want to live in, their dream world of generational ships and the other things that I'll be blowing your mind with because the Lord has called me to try to warn so many people, they always believe that evolving is, evolving the size of the ship, social breakdowns. You gotta plan these things so well. Look, they just talk about it so as if they're so real or something. It's going to happen someday, and we might mock it. I hope you are mocking it with me. But some people are out there; their lips are smacking, just like people wanted to be considered Aryan at one time, and part of that, survival of the fittest. Oh, I hope I would make it onto one of the generational ships. Why not? My eyes are green and blue. Maybe you got hazel eyes like I do. And if I wasn't called by God, I could be sitting around going like, nobody's more Nazi than me. I've got to I've got to preserve my genes. Oh, look at this. There was one called Orphans of the Sky. Orphan train to another planet. Hey, there's a book for somebody out there if you want to whip it up. Let's just see. Generation ships traveling for long periods of time may see breakdowns. Uh-oh, something else to worry about. Not only do you have to worry about making the cut, you have to worry about breakdowns. Oh, they might see breakdowns in the social structure, changes in society. For an example, maybe a mutiny. Hey, that'd be a good show. Why does this thing? Something's happening here. I've got to. Try not to use my old mouse pad, but maybe that'll help. Human health threat from cosmic rays. Oh no. So they got all of these things that, hypothetically, they can have you hypothetically worrying about instead of studying God's word. The slower than light interstellar spaceships, well, that didn't help, pursuing its way through the weary centuries, its crew losing touch with all reality save the interior of the vessel. Well, you know the story, and its unhappy downhill round, its exciting struggles between the barbarian tribes which develop in its desperate compartments, and then, if the writer is so minded, the ultimate flash of hope as the good guys win. Robert A. Heinlein's Orphans of the Sky, the impeccable statement of this theme. People don't get enough of it. Starship, cosmic rays, let's worry about that. Ethical considerations from after the baby boomers, the millennials, Gen X, and whatever they got going now, who it's been legal to abort babies, they really have any ethical considerations left? Yeah, I don't think so. I don't. So we can do that. Project Hyperion. Well, that launched. Is this something real? Project Hyperion launched on December 2011 by Icarus Interstellar was performed a preliminary study that defines integrated concepts for a crewed interstellar generation ship. This was a 2-year study based mainly out of the WARR, WARR, student group at the Technical University of Munich. Imagine people got paid to do that, except for the students, but some people crowd-funded and did all of that. Initiative for Interstellar Studies, core team members. Here's some notable results. Project and a survey has presented it at the ESA in 2019. Well, if we ever need a generational ship, here's what we'll do. I think, did I look up Project Hyperion? If not, I should. We should look at it. It's got a spinning satellite there, probably to simulate gravity, something else that, they know it exists. They simply cannot describe it. So here's a type of arc, maybe embryo space colonization, an O'Neill cylinder. Woo! Look at that one. There's another one for us to look at. Self-replicating spacecrafts. Oh, those mathematicians and their friends in the scientific community. A sleeper cell? No, a sleeper ship. A hypothetical type of crewed spacecraft. Crude, not crude like gross or uncouth, but they've got a crew on it and not somebody that rows a long, skinny boat in a race. This is a sleeper ship. Sleeper ship. Lots of interesting things there. Here's NASA facts, understanding space radiation. Okay. Well, there's too many, and we've opened up more than I already had. So let's look at that. Interstellar Project Hyperion launched December 2011. That's almost like right in time for the Mayan 2012 end of the world thing that you remember that scare? They put that scare out there. Here's a tourist-based generation ship that was proposed by Project Hyperion. I wonder how much that cost. Probably in Espanol, mucho dinero, much money. So this is the same thing transferred, basically the same thing as that. Here's world ships, feasibility and rationale, a PDF. I wonder if there's any cool pictures in it. Oh, this is from that study. Looks like they've got the Big Dipper. They wanted to study that. Ooh, some fancy pictures. All of them fake. Oh, look at that big bicycle wheel. Oh, never mind. That's their fake spaceship. Time mass problem. Of course, it wouldn't be real unless they realized that they had to address the time mass problem. Crude interstellar travel concepts can be located on this map. Okay, there's another generation ship. My dog is going crazy. Oh, this is pods to sleep in. Looks good in theory, but significant biological, issues. Oh boy, you can't just make it seem like it's going to be too easy. Here's the pods the babies are growing in. Keep them, keep America, keep the world safe. World ships. This was a real study. 2019 started much earlier. Colony ships, slow boat, colony ships, world different ships designs, Taurus world ship, dry world ship, autumn. Please. There we go. Some more fakery to make people's mouth water. And there is the Taurus world ship. This is their fake power supplies, my guess. Genetics, they thought of everything because they had to. They're selling it to the masses. There is a more of the world ship spoke to fake gravity. You have to have a way to fake the big G, gravity. They're God. Help them slingshot around the stars. And what about some other alternatives? Heavy, slow, but no principal feasibility issue. Okay. Well, good. As long as there's no feasibility issue in this fake report. World ships remain an interesting concept to study. And we could sustain human life in space over extended time frames. Let's get paid to sell that lie. 3712. Hey, you gematria people. I wish I had the power to say, get on it. The O'Neill cylinder, we'll get a look at that. There it is. Artist depiction of a generational ship. The O'Neill cylinder. Look at that's where people live on the interior of it's kind of like Snowpiercer in a way, got a fake river, fake sun maybe somewhere, fake skies. Oh, you look, you got rivers all the way around it. Sure they do. And then a little flat earth model on the end, Wow, the O'Neill cylinder is just cool, man. There you go. Look at that artist impression of this. I wonder how much he got paid to come up with this lie. But somebody's paying it because they're selling it. They got to sell it. And I've got to take just a break to get my dog settled down. It just will be 15 seconds. What are you doing? That dog had found part of a cookie and was trying to get outside its kennel to eat a crumb. I wonder if they're going to have that problem on their fake spaceships. I want to welcome Osiris Montenegro. from Norway. Well, how about that? Look at that picture. Osiris. That's a fake cylinder from an O'Neill cylinder, something that they want people to believe could be true as they fake their way. And who knows? Maybe we're in a simulated Earth flying through something like it right now. Oh, wow, man. I know, I'm kidding. Here's a no such space agency lunar base concept. We'll be getting into how they fake this on Earth. There's another artist depiction. I wonder, I like the other ones better, but we'll look at this one. They kind of have the same idea. Look, they even fake eclipses. Look at that. How would they know they are not living on a real planet? This was a gold mine here. The cylinder growing out of the interconnected bolas. You know what a bola is? It's not Ebola. It's a type of spacecraft. Beaded Taurus. How about that? Remember the last time when I took way too much mushrooms and tried to describe what I saw at the center of the universe? I finally saw something that I could, you know, here it is. This is what I was trying to describe. This is what I saw. That's when I nobody's ever died from taking too many psilocybin mushrooms, and I tried to prove it. And I tried to explain, the infinite analemma Mobius strips that I saw, and that's as close as I could ever get to my description right there. So I just thought, it's not an interstellar arc, it's not an O'Neill cylinder, but there's something there. So let's look at here's another one. The interstellar arc. So we've looked at some of the other ones: Starship, interstellar travel, faking thrust problems. Here they got a new. They call it through the desert of space. I wonder if they have. I wonder if space way out on the edge is still a vacuum, like it is in the outside of our planet. It's a new kind of vacuum we have, one that you can poke holes in all the time to leave from an atmosphere into a vacuum. But we did get Project Orion, so propulsion by nuclear pulses, police. But the event of a global catastrophe, I'm pretty sure I looked that up. So that's something to look forward to in the not too distant future. There's an Insmanship. I mean, is that not better than the O'Brien or whatever we just saw? That was proposed in 1964. Large fusion power spacecraft back in the atomic age. We can do anything. We can save America. Project Orion goes back to 1955. Would we call this Project Daedalus? We'll be looking at that. It was constructed by the British Interplanetary Society. Okay. Okay. BIS. That's very common initial. So we got too many hypothetical spacecraft, entertainment. We just have to keep moving on. Looks like I did pop that one out. There's another fake airspace going to another fake planet because people would much rather concern their minds with the fakeness that's been propagated by propaganda rather than consider the fact that we're living in a time of God's judgment. Why is it so hard for people to imagine that God is a God of love? Well, because they live in a time of judgment, maybe. And unless their heart has been changed and their eyes opened, their ears unplugged, they'll never comprehend it. As a matter of fact, many of them will still be wicked and hate God and try to convince other people to be wicked along with them. But the concept of the Diadalis, that it would be constructed on Earth, kind of like, space. What is the name of that? Lost in Space, and then they have to pick people out and decide who's the best people to go, and could be like the Swiss Family Robinson getting, to go to space. But here's one that shut down. This one only envisioned a 46-year cruise period before it shut down. Due to the extreme temperature range of operation from near zero to over 1,600 degrees Kelvin, the engine bells would have to be made of modelium alloyed with titanium. They've got it all figured out and well thought out. Just to make people think, like, could that really work? Could it really work? Oh, the propaganda seems so good. And of course, each spacecraft would carry robot wardens capable of autonomously repairing damage or malfunctions of that. Basically is, we can do it. Self-replicating variation, engineering a quantitative, I'll bet. Engineering analysis was done in 1980. I'll bet. And probably only perfected, in the coming years. Another possibility is a magnetic sail. Whew, magnetic sail, similar to the magnetic scoop of the Bussard ramjet. Wow, proposed in 1960. People making money off of the planned future Noah's Ark to save humanity. Because in their mind, this is always about a way for them to rescue our human race instead of realizing that this isn't a rescue. Well, it is a rescue if you're on the narrow road, but otherwise, it's a judgment. There was no make America great again, make Earth great again, save the human population without God because we're the survival of the fittest, and you have to, you know, since most of you believe in the people on the wide road, they would believe in Atlantis anyway and think, well, we'll be just like the Anunnaki, saving our planet. Yay! Project Orion. Did I go over this, or are they just all blurring together as the same nonsense? Starship powered by nuclear propulsion, crudely drawn pictures, things that look like Apollo from Warner von Braun's V2 rocket, modern pulsed fission propulsion. Oh, as we learn more, we get our fake spacecrafts even more and more fancy. Project Orion. Oh, that's a United States Air Force. DARPA, NASA. Okay. Okay. There's NASA. All from 1958. Project Orion. Apollo program to the moon. Same place that wasn't it Ralph or somebody from the Honeymooners? He was gonna take you one of these days to the moon, Alice, to the moon. So there's Project Orion, fake, 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 beauty, fake, 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 low Earth orbit, bomb yield. Yeah, I guess you got to have all kinds of special people among the special people that could be the captains and stuff. And wow, it would be interesting to see books and movies made about them. Oh, wait, there's only a million of them. So what is Starship? These are all coming from the world's favorite online encyclopedia in charge of propaganda, Starship. Theoretical spacecraft designed for traveling between planetary systems. Starship, just like Jefferson Starship. They changed their name from Jefferson Airplane and the White Rabbit to Jefferson Starship, and then they built that city on rock and roll, because I'm sure they're going to have bread and circuses for all those years in space and multi-generational, traveling at the speed of light to Alpha Centauri, Moonraker, Breakthrough Starshot, Breakthrough Initiatives, Light Sail Program, Spacecraft, Starship. Starship? What do they want? Proof of concept? Did I see that? Proof of concept flight that they could do it. Okay. And they're grown men actually talking about going to Alpha Centauri in 4.37 light years. So we could do it. Sure. We couldn't. It took 5 days to get water to the Superdome. And these guys are going to do feasibility studies about going to Alpha Centauri. Give me a break. Too many to look at. Hey, we didn't see that one. And we looked at that Project Delphius. Come on, man. They got to share their pictures better. I'm closing that one out and I'm going to look at here's just a version of their gravity assist of when they're going to slingshot it. You go around a planet, you hit another kind of planet, and it helps you adjust your target and you're on your way. And this is how they used a slingshot of the Voyager 1. Why didn't this planet adjust it? You see, because they used to go around the sun, slingshot it up here, hit this other planet to straighten it out and send it on its Voyager so that you could have the plot for a Star Trek movie later. But then when it went past Jupiter or Uranus, it didn't change. Huh. Gravity assist on Voyager 2. Straighten it out. Oh, it changed on that one. Changed a little bit on that one. They must have done. Oh, slowed it down. Come on, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and the Sun. Okay, and here's their proof. Here's their proof. Here's their proof. Hi, Luther. Good to see you, brother. Rolly R. Some familiar names. Good to see you guys. We're just studying right now. We're all the way up to gravity assist, and I've been poo-pooing all their ideas about interstellar Star Wars travel, but it just seems that there were so many different, books and planning on how to get a new Noah's Ark because of global catastrophe scenarios in which the global catastrophic risk creates harm have been discussed. Some sources of catastrophic risk are caused by humans. That's anthropogenic, global warming, environmental degradation, oh, the unspeakable, and of course, nuclear war, Terminator 1, Terminator 2, Terminator 3, 4, and 5. Super volcanoes, you can say that. Some things I don't feel safe saying because well, right now, let's just say I've lost 10,000 subscribers because I talked a little bit about the highlighted topic, and now I have them starting over with. Not that I don't like the new name, Mud Flood was Armageddon, but I kind of miss my old videos that I could reference on Flat Earth Nation Golden Age past, that I considered a groundbreaking. Here's Theophile, the Chariot of Death. This was a global catastrophe used in fake space, maybe? Oh no. Oh no, it looks like something from the Bible. Because I saw the cross in the background there. There's their depiction of the Lord and Savior, I guess, on a telephone pole. Uh, Horsemen of apocalypse and stuff. And like, oh my goodness, who are all these people? There's the French flag, but the drummer boy from the American Revolution. This is just very dystopic, very scary. There's death. There's oh boy, oh my, global catastrophe. 1902 article about the Swedish Nobel laureate. A Swedish professor, Sven, has evolved a new theory. We're just pumping that word out a lot, of the extinction of the human race. He holds that the combustion of coal by civilized man is gradually warming the atmosphere from 1902. So that in the course of a few cycles of 10,000 years, the earth will be baked in a temperature close to the boiling point. At least he put it out there as oh boy, and he got a Nobel Prize for that. Oh my goodness. And so he bases his theory on the accumulation of carbonic acid in the atmosphere, which acts as a glass in concentrating and reflecting the heat of the sun. I think we've all heard variations of that theme. I know I have. Liberty Bond poster calls up the end of the world, the bombing of New York City. Don't let it happen. Buy a bond from your government. Buy some more things here. Production petroleum rate. Remember, one of my favorite videos on my old channel was something called God Loves Steam Power, Hates Big Oil's Rape of the Earth. And sorry if you guys love oil. I know who doesn't like a hot rod. I know I do. But it's not as efficient as it should be. It's probably not that. Oh, here, Yellowstone, it's a caldera. Boy, we've got websites talking about that today. God's judgment is coming. Watch out. End of the world could be from artificial intelligence. You see that in the news? They keep that in the news to keep people's minds off of God's judgment. Autumn is doing good, Brother Luther. She was just acting up and made some noise. I had to interrupt the program for 10 years to go see what she was fussing about. And she was trying to do a great escape, Hogan's Heroes type tunnel out of her kennel and to get at a cookie crumb that must have been dropped. She's doing well, though. She's a good girl. Biological warfare, bioterrorism, artificial, chemical weapons, choice of to have fewer children, voluntary human extinction movement, antinatalism. Well, that's not hard when people right now, because of what they eat and drink, they can't have so many sexually transmitted diseases. They can't have children anymore. Climate apocalypse, extinction risk from climate change. Oh no. And as it says, if my big brother Randy was here and what he'd say, he would mock this whole global catastrophic scenarios and say they're building lies on top of a lie with their big G gravity and their global words. And boy, he'd be right again. Nanotechnology, that's catastrophic. Nuclear war, world population, uno mas. Non-man made. You got to worry about those type too. Asteroid impact. Planetary or interstellar collision. Oh no. There's a 1% chance that Mercury could become unstable. And once again, as they would say, at one time ago, something crashed into Earth and that spun off the moon, maybe, or something like that. Asteroids, comets, rogue planets, gamma ray bursts, the sun, it may explode. Oh no, alien invasion, extraterrestrial invasion. There's always, hey, here's not a man made, but a natural pandemic novel. Climate change, volcanoes, great filter. Great filter is one possible resolution of the Fermi paradox. The Fermi paradox is the discrepancy between the lack of conclusive evidence for advanced terrestrial life and the apparently high a priori likelihood of its existence. As a 2015 article put it, if life is so easy, someone from somewhere must have come calling by now. Sure. What a great filter to put over people's minds and brainwash them into believing Independence Day could possibly be true. And don't worry, America will be there to save the world. Or will it be China now? Because now that it seems that the United States is getting stabbed in the back and China's going to be the new boss, or Russia. But even North Korea has more credibility with some people than the United States now. Here's, all these other ones we don't have time to look at, the 100-year Starship, Coalition for Deep Space Exploration. That's a real thing. United States Space Advocacy, the Dyson Sphere. We didn't have time to look at that hypothetical megastructure, you know, just leaving room for other people to do better what I could hopefully put into their mind. Global Cassius, art projects, interplanetary internet. There you go. There you go. You need it. In situ resource allocation. I suppose they're going to call that a qubits quantum computer that has to be kept at sub-zero degrees, and people will believe that's a real thing. Space fellowship, space elevator. Sure. Why not? On a spinning ball. There you go. Space travel under constant acceleration. Well, that's what we're living on anyway, constantly flying through space, as they would have you believe, spinning in three different directions, falling backwards the whole time. L5 Society. How about that? To promote space colony ideas of a Gerard K. O'Neill, I believe. Terraforming the planet one more time. Well, we enough. I have a few more for you to look at here. So here's human analog missions. How are they going to practice? How are they going to practice? And I can't go over all of these, but you've all seen the Mars Desert Research Station. Do I have that one? Oh, I left these open to pull up. There's Nemo. So there's the Astroland. We'll open up a few of them. Biohome. It says Ben Franklin. That's an underwater one. Pavilion Lake Research Center. Okay. Another one to study for human analog missions in space. Nemo. I should have figured that one was underwater. We'll look at that one. Desert Research. Okay. Amati. Mars analog habitat. We got to look at that. Mars Desert Research Station. Is that enough? Mars 500 was a psychological isolation experiment. Wow, from 2007 to 2011 by Russia and China. Preparation for an unspecified future crewed space flight to the planet Mars. Well, that's going to probably be put on hold for a little while because you can't do it. It's fake. But you can study the crap out of it. So here's some of their, yeah, they're going to fly that to Mars. Why not? Why not? Just make it a bigger, Skylab, space station. Oh, there's a better picture. Pretty small picture. Don't be looking too closely at it. So, but the European Space Agency, hey, they're all about it. Let's do it. Because you need to study the psychological, physiological, and technological challenges inherent. Because eventually we've got to go to Mars. Why end homelessness? Why help people out? You know, and prop up, instead of just propping up, crony capitalism or fake communism, why help people when you can spend that money to study going to Mars? Because that's going to be so important because there might be some mining materials there that we could make some money that will help medicine. It's all fake. Fake evidence appearing for fear. That's exactly right. Astroland Agency, Spanish. Spanish studied it. Interplanetary agent based in Cantabria, Spain. Well, the Spanish are studying interplanetary disciplines too. Astroland operates the first permanent plug and play subsurface analog station inside a cave, 1.5 kilometers, so that's about a mile, and 60 meters high. It's in Santander, Spain, which is a mud flood city. Astroland is an aerospace startup acting is a good description of it as a research organization. Sometimes they let it if you don't understand phonics, they put it right out there in plain language by the hidden hand, whose main objective is to envision future living capabilities on Mars. And then they all put their foot on a chair, threw their head back, and did the pirate laugh of History of Astroland was funded by David Caballero in 2018. It was his childhood dream to explore space. How come the guy that could fund that doesn't get a blue link to where we could study him? So there's the Mars analog habitat. We're going to be looking at that. But this is Spain saying, what about us? What about us? Their first step, their main goal in the development of skill and technology necessary to establish human colonies on Mars, focusing on the habitat with the aim of facilitating functional human habitats that will be first deployed on the moon and then Mars. Well, we've been waiting since 1972 to go back to the moon if we were ever there, because that's just a joke. The first step has been to set up the first and only permanent plug and play subsurface analog station worldwide. There's a good description, which provides fully equipped operational scenario analog to Mars moon lava tubes. Okay. Huh? What are they yapping about? Astroland Interplanetary Agency initiated the work on the project in 2016. It took 2 years to convince the authorities to use the cave in Ariondo, Cantabria. So these caves here, it looks like they wanted to use these caves that had Well, so what if they have ancient drawings in them? We want to use them. Cave drawings from the Paleolithic cave art, they say, but we want to use it to study Mars. Well, okay. There's the cane of Cave de Valais. So not I don't see anything about the the space station. And I anything about the space station here? Hmm. Plenty of caves that have that type of want to use it to study going to Mars. Guess that's because that's where people hung out. That's just crazy. Mud flood city much? Ooh, it's in the middle of nowhere. Look at that rock mountain. Beautiful. Wonder if there's caves in there where people ran to the hills and said, fall on. There's two main components, Space Center and Edda Station. Wonder what that is. Radio Amateur Civil Emergency Service. Huh. In Spain? Looks like it's something to do with satellites and shortwave radio or something like that. Okay. Like I said, this is just a spur of the moment. What are they faking? A biohome, something created by NASA. Biohome is a small facility created by NASA in the late 1980s that could support one person in a fully functional habitat, kind of like something from 1973 Skylab 3. Well, they just did such little foresight. Thought you'd want to see this picture here of Earth background from Skylab 3. We're going to zoom in on a Luther. Everybody has dropped in the chat Deuteronomy 4 verse 19 for the dozens of people that may watch this later. If you want to check out Deuteronomy chapter 4 verse 19. So there's a fake picture, maybe the Amazon or something. And this is a faked, photoshopped. I am not fake, though. I am a real human who believes he's called by God to warn people that this kind of Vitruvian Man, Skylab 2, Earth Arc, and all of their baloney is just nothing but an Operation Paperclip Nazi in the United States merger in a world run by the mafia to keep people from studying the Bible. Hey, I think that's just fake, very fake. So is that super fake. This is even more fake. This from 1973, no computers. It's like putting saying the dials of an old TV set. The I guess one of your iPhones has 100 times more power than all the computer processing of everybody involved in NASA when they were supposedly sending people to the moon. Look, he's taking a shower in space. Uh, that's much different than they show how they have to do it in the world today, right? Oh, the insanity. Look at him fake sleeping. He's dreaming of what I would do with $1, how he'd fake anything. Doesn't look like, oh, just can be so fake. So what's this one? The Houghton Mars Project, another interdisciplinary field research. This one's from Canada. This is where they go to fake study how they're going to make it to in between planets, joined by SETI, the people you see it always in the movies that like, oh no, we've been sending radio messages to space and here come the aliens. So they're part of this Houghton Impact Mars project. People can go and get their postdoctoral research. So even after you get your PhD, if you still want to spend money, you can sign up to go there. Proposal approved by the National Research Council, NASA, and the Ames Research Center in 1996. By the year 2000, the science and exploration research goals had been set. Number of features which could serve as Mars analogs had been found, and they're charging money if you want to go see it. There's also the Fishline Mars Arctic Research Station. There's a picture of some people celebrating it right there. Hi guys, look at them wave. Look at we're at the Arctic Research, sponsored by Discovery Magazine. There you go. Get your name on the tower there if you donate it some money. It's on Devon Island. Another picture. Let's see who else sponsored him besides Discovery Magazine. Oh, the Discovery Channel, Bushnell Optics, very good uh, scopes, very good rifle scopes. There's some more. Can't make out too many more. Generac Generators, they sponsored them. Pioneer Audio, the Klitsch Foundation, Flashline.com. Way to go, you people. There they are building it. Going to stay up there for a little while and study what it's like to be alone. They got their own patch. Whew, there's 89 currently, as of the time of this Wikipedia article, field bases located in where people study how to get to Mars. 89 current terrestrial field bases in Northern Europe, Russia, United States, Canada, Greenland, Iceland, the Faroe Islands, and Scotland. Because doggone it, blimey, they're not going to be left out. So many, so many. Here's the desert research one, that probably where they take pictures and fake Mars. Hey, there's a good group of people out there in the 2006, the desert rats. All these people would have you believe that they should get good jobs because they spent time out in the desert faking like they're going to be on Mars in the near future. Desert rats test Mars equipment, including spaceports, probably like those Earth elevators. There it is, the something that, the lunar rover, the Mars rover, fake it. There's another driving around on a go-kart in walk in space. What do they call it when you got the helmet, you got the pressurized suit, you got the you're faking living in space. People are studying your heart rates. And the Deep Space Habitat Demonstration Unit, probably could film it underwater if you wanted to. There's the Scout rover. It's better than the lunar rover if you ask me. There's the eye suit, NASA. Look at that one. It's mining. It's practicing doing some mining up there. Fake mining on fake Mars for habitat demonstration. Pull it around. Look at that one. The triathlete, how to get around on Mars. Hey, Matt Damon can make it. Hey, there's one near Flagstaff, Arizona. I've been there. I'd like to go back and visit Flagstaff, Arizona. Just beautiful mountainous area. Mars analog habitat. That's just we've covered that. That's just places on the ground where you study it. There's dirt bikes. That's kind of TVs. There's the Brigham Young University Mars rover. Best one yet. Utah. Oop, can't do that one. It's the first place in Utah on Soldier Mountain where I went to do peyote for the first time in 2019 with the Ute Indians. And it was somewhere near there. Human analog mission. Okay. All kinds of human analog missions. I can't read them all. Pavilion Lake Research Project, NASA Extreme Environmental Mission Operations, Arctic Mars Analog, Mars 500. So many. Is there anything new? Here's a list of Mars analogs. Concordia Research Station in Italy. There we go. Everybody gets in on it. Hey, look at this. This is Biosphere 2 in Arizona. Very fancy looking. Who wouldn't want to hang out there and get paid to do it? There's another big number. It looks like they got to have their number so they can go, Breaker 9-3, we're faking Mars. Are you number 3? Yes, I am. I'm number 3. I'm walking around in a pressurized suit created by a vacuum chamber so that they can have the correct atmospheric pressure and simulate Mars and the pressure where they're sure that the pressure in Mars is 50 times greater than on the surface of Mars. Mount Everest. Gravity. BIOS 3. Skylab medical experiment altitude. The last one of that is I saw this SMEAT crew emblem and it looks like Snoopy has a rope around his neck. And that's the SMEAT crew emblem. Wow. It was a 56-day simulation of the American Skylab. Okay, that doesn't look too fake, does it? But, we were young back then and we thought that this would, oh, that's a solar panel. Okay. Well, it didn't quite unfold very well, but just as it's the way it goes. Sure that people can find all kinds of replicated hidden patterns in those fake clouds. Skylab Orbital Workshop. There you go. More fake. Oh, look at the Skylab. Look at that's how they lived and played. And Bruce Willis went up there and saved his daughter's boyfriend. And so everything was happity doo dah. So I'm going to let that be it for today. But I do want to do a preview of see what we've got going here. What is this here? Oh, wow. Report shows astonishing depravity and sexual abuse of more than 600 children in the Baltimore's Roman Catholic Archdiocese. Just heartbreaking, heartbreaking. And I think that if you want, and it's still redacted, there are more. You can't get enough information. There's always more about, and then they slowly let the people die, and then it comes out as like, wow, I guess it was true. Uh, Tonight we might be going over these type of people, Meskwaki, from the basically Fox Indians from the Fox Rivers in two separate Fox Rivers, one in Wisconsin, one in Illinois. Study some of these people and their fascination with wearing feathers and just a lot of different things. What else? We're going to be going over the Black Hawk War and its subcategories, Lord willing. Lord willing. Hi, Lisa. Thank you for that. We have Algonquin people. You're going to be surprised to think that they're Algonquins. You mostly think of Illinois, but there also are some Algonquin in Colorado. Lord willing, I'll prove it. Sock and they're sock people. I don't know why they said sack and fox, but we got that pulled up. Here it is, studying the Fox River, and look what comes up: PCBs, which breaks down. I can't get. It seems like they've infected the whole. This was in the lower Fox River, just dumping PCBs, polychlorinated biphenyls, which break down to dioxins, the same ingredient in Agent Orange. And it's just, as I was pre-reading, that caught my eye, as we'll be looking at the Fox River, Green Bay tributary, a river that flows north. Its whole length, it flies north. Very strange. Very strange. For over 200 miles, flowing from Lake Winnebago, or actually northeasterly. Doesn't flow towards the Gulf of Mexico. It flows northeasterly to the lower Green Bay where the Packers play. That's very interesting. We're also going to the polychlorinated biphenyls. This was at Fort Bragg. How they at night just went out and just snuck 50,000 tons of soil had to been contaminated, and people got caught trying to sneak it out of town, poisoning the ground in North Carolina. What else have we got? Pergamon. You know what Pergamon was in the seven churches of Revelation? Pergamon is where the seat of Satan was. So we'll be looking at where the seat of Satan was. His throne was there or something. We'll be looking at what is a Roman imperial cult and why during Armageddon, when Titus, took over, the sack of Jerusalem, when our Lord and Savior, our big brother Jesus Christ said, not one stone will be left on top of another. Well, with the time of the abomination desolation, when it could no longer be used for sacrifice, is because one of these guys went in there and declared himself to be a god, and thus polluting it. So we'll be looking at that, Lord willing. And the Pergamon Museum. Did you know that the Pergamon Museum, the Ishtar Gate, and all of these other things? You know where the Pergamon Museum is? Well, it's on Museum Island, and that's in Berlin. They even have the Pergamon altar that they say they took stone by stone and shipped it over to Berlin. Giving you some more detail on that, Lord willing, tonight. You'll find out why this mud flood building is now called the Bodie Museum instead of the Kaiser Wilhelm because that's just so German. And the Germans were bad and they wanted something different. Pergamon Museum is right next door to the Berlin Museum Island. It has them both. A lot of weird things there. It used to be called the Kaiser Friedrich Museum in 1904. There's a picture. It doesn't look like it's changed much. Just the names were changed to protect the not so innocent entrance to it. Mud flood much? Yes, you do. Hopefully, it is leading you to a closer walk with your Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Because when who was it the disciple, the apostle Thomas said, "Will few be saved?" And Jesus didn't give him a yes or no. He just said, "Strive to enter the narrow gate." Because later on there was a lot of implications that many will call, or but few are chosen. So you got that to look at. The flak tower. This is a flak tower. Leave some suspense on that. The defense of the Reich, World War II, what was going on. See if I can tie that in and anything interesting. And what was the goal of Operation Point Blank? Well, even now, it's not clear what the original architects of the Allied air warfare strategic bombing and fighter strategy against Germany really thought they might accomplish. I didn't misread that. Even now, it's not clear what the original architects of the Allied air warfare strategic bombing and fighter strategy against Germany really thought they might accomplish. The so called strategic aerial offensive that was launched from bases in England in mid 1942 at the time, something new, something untried, something theoretical, kind of like uh, theoretical space flight to Mars. Was it to be aimed at terrorizing German civilians, a shock tactic that the Germans had invented, or was it aimed at bringing German industrial industry inexorably to its knees? Moral posturing aside, no one really knew what the end results of a successful strategic bombing campaign might be. No one had ever thought through the goals of a sustained strategic bombing offensive like we have thought through what it would take to build a human ark in case something happens. Is this tab something that we're going to go over? So there's the amount of money it would take, buy a loaf of bread. Just kidding. That's probably 10 loaves of bread there. Hyperinflation, we'll be looking at that. And men, that's not to be confused with mean. It says men, a god, not men like you're made from dust. This is a dust of mean. And I see horns on its shoulder, weirdness on its head. We'll be looking at that. Once again, this is what I saw. Letting you know that you are an battery operated infinite Mobius strips, analema, you're housing the Spirit of God. Well, might even want to spend a little time with, our hip pastors who wear hats in church in sin. And I found this guy agrees that, yeah, hip pastors are wearing their baseball caps in church and praying with them on, but they're cool, man. And they dress hip and they're cool. Big time sin. So I'm going to let that go. Got a lot to look forward to, still a lot to study here today. Hopefully, you'll share some of this. Hopefully, that Star Wars looking thumbnail will draw some people in, and dozens of people will be excited about sharing the Word of God tonight. And on Good Friday, hopefully, we'll get into some Bible study too. I know we want to. I know I want to. And I don't even have to go through those videos. We'll see what the Lord calls me, Lord willing, if He calls me to preach tonight. Thank you all for being here. It's a flat earth nation, golden age, the millennium is past, and mud flood was Armageddon. You know, I'm never going to tell you anything else. Why would I? Why would my friends? We're trying to prove we have your best interest at heart. Amen. Hallelujah. Aho. Aloha and adios.